Alright everyone, it's time for another skilled analysis of what's happening in the political arena, and it's a little bit of a prediction here. I think that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, by and large, over the coming months as the election proceeds into November, are going to almost entirely ignore their own records. Joe Biden has a very long career in politics, almost a half century. He was in Congress for, 36 years, I believe it was. He was a vice president, of course, under Obama for 2 terms. Kamala Harris has a Senate career. Before that, she was a prosecutor in California. And these people have considerable political experience, commensurate with the particular positions they're seeking. They both have well, technically in Kamala's case, I guess prosecutor would be more on the executive than legislative end, although technically it's not either. They both got that experience. They both got legislative experience in the Senate. That's all going for them. Those are normally having a long, distinguished career in politics is a good thing if you're running for office. The problem is they can't run on them. Kamala Harris can't talk about her time as prosecutor because it raises too many questions about her tough-on-crime policies. The same is, by the way, true of Biden. Biden can't refer to quotes of him from the busing era. Even if he's technically correct, the obtuse way in which he chose to refer to the situation makes it impossible for him to bring it up without getting smacked in the face by his own party. The Democrats, by and large, have gone much further to the left than Biden ever was part of. Biden's not a leftist. He's pretending to be a progressive. Kamala Harris has pretended as well. Now they're trying to label her a moderate. Well, if you look at her record, she'd be considered hard right in the prosecutorial sense, and on her regressive tax proposals, goodness, in the Senate, explicitly wanting to raise taxes on the middle class, and then lying and gaslighting about it. Of course, that's not going to go well. If you're a Democrat and you're trying to gain enthusiasm in party, it's going to be difficult to do that with their particular records. The problem is that the party is now further left than they are. And so what you can expect as far as their campaign strategy, number one, I think they're going to try to make Kamala more visible than Biden. Number two, they will continue to very, very closely limit questions. They will only allow fluff piece reporters to talk to either of them. Like, you're not going to see Kamala Harris on Charlemagne the God's show, probably. That's probably not going to happen at this point. They're going to very, very stringently control the flow of information. They're going to try to keep them as sheltered as possible, even from the legacy media in some cases. Again, only softball questions will be asked. Any impromptu question, Biden will pretend to have an old man moment and just wander off like he didn't hear it. Kamala Harris will say that they're being disrespectful and maybe a strong, empowered woman challenges you too much, so you're not allowed to ask me that question because you wouldn't ask a boy candidate that, or some stupid shit like that. And essentially, the campaign will boil down to, hey, we know that Democrats are wrecking the country right now, but blame Trump instead and vote for us because we're not him. Orange man bad. Well, I'm different from Orange man. How? Oh, well, I was in the Senate for a while. No, I don't want to talk about what I did. I don't want to talk about voting in favor of every war, says Biden. I don't want to talk about voting in favor of every tax hike. I don't want to talk about my gun control proposals that are buried on my own website. I don't want to talk about all of my gaffes, or about the fact that my vice president openly proclaimed that she believed my Me Too accusers last year and has done a total 180 on that. My vice president doesn't want to talk about her truancy reforms, putting people in jail because their kid missed the bus. She doesn't want to talk about Willie Brown, by the way. You're sexist if you bring it up. It's funny because Kamala Harris, if you look at her record, it's poor, but then if you talk about how she even got into these positions, then you're evil. You're a bigot or something. Well, no, you're just calling her out as the scumbag that she really is, and Biden's a scumbag too. He's sold out too. Bernie sold out. Remember, he held out even in 2016. He was not very much into the gun control stuff, and then he flipped. He did a 180 actually on this between 2016 and 2020 and said, "Oh yeah, now I've seen the light now. Yeah, I want to ban firearms because they go boom boom and they're scary." See, he knows that he's not going to go back and run again in Vermont because he's too fucking old at this point. He's so incumbent he doesn't even have to campaign. He's like Strom Thurmond anyway if he does choose to get back into the position. So now he can sell out Vermonters down the river too. Now he sounds like fucking Michael Bloomberg. He sounds like the less wealthy version of Michael Bloomberg, Bernie Sanders does. And as far as Joe Biden, he's decided to ignore his entire past. The moderate proposals, and in some cases even slightly right-wing proposals that he made maybe in the 70s or 80s, he can't talk about that shit. He can if he's talking to moderates, but in this democratized totality of information age where you can't really target the audience, you're talking to the whole world inevitably if you've got a public platform of any size, where you can't target things anymore and control the flow of information. That's bad for someone like Biden. That's why they keep it so close and tight when he's talking to reporters. He'll take a couple questions. The second he gets one that he knows he can't answer, or someone whispering into his ear through teleprompter, I'm sure, says he shouldn't answer, he walks off. Kamala will do the same fucking thing. Kamala Harris is like Joe Biden. She makes mistakes when she speaks off the cuff. She's not very good at speaking. With a teleprompter, I'm sure she can do fine. Biden can usually do fine with a teleprompter, although not always, as we've seen. Biden says weird shit even when he's got a script in front of him, sometimes meanders off and starts talking about things apparently unconnected with the teleprompter. Kamala Harris may not have that problem, but if you get her off script, if you have a reporter fling a gotcha question at her, it'd be a bad time for her. This happens to Trump constantly because as the incumbent, he has to take questions from a media that largely hates him. Biden and Kamala Harris don't. They're just sitting there hunkered in the bunker. Occasionally they talk to small groups of people and pretend that they're still actively campaigning. There is no active campaigning going on right now. Everything's digital only. It's the weirdest election ever. That's why I think I disagree with Lichtman, despite the proclivity of his system, the 13 keys to the White House, working so well. I think that there are too many unprecedented changes to the political structure right now. Not least of which is the mass enthusiasm gap. You've also got the fact that, technically speaking, there is no campaigning. You've got the mail-in ballot issue. You've got riots going on at the moment that none of his categorizations really have anything to do with. And certainly that takes a key away from Trump because you've got domestic turmoil and major domestic problems. But a large swath of the public seem to be blaming the Democrats for it, and not unrightly so. When I look at the situation, I say it's all fucking wonky. And I think it's even wonkier that the experienced candidate, now, Trump, his experience is I've been president for the last few years. That's his only political experience. Biden's was in the Senate for, fucking more than a quarter century. He can't even talk about it. When's the last time he brought up his record? You'd think that would be a distinguishing feature. Well, I know how to manage things. We got all these crises going on, but I was in the Senate for a long time. I was vice president. Give the job to me. I know what I'm doing better than this dude does. He was a private businessman. All he's been is president, and he's failed at it. That would be Biden's attack line normally. He's not doing that now, is he? Instead, he just says, well, Orange man racist. Orange man bigoted. Oh, look, he destroyed the economy that we ourselves voted to lock down en masse. It's very interesting. So that's a little bit of a prediction. You're going to see more of that. You can expect nothing but softball questions. Any gotcha questions won't be answered. Essentially, these people have a little earbud in, and some staffer is carefully watching the goings-on, and they probably have a special code word for don't answer that question, just leave. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if it's not a hearing aid in his ear at this point. It's a little birdie is telling him things. That's about all. Peace out.